I'm Tamika Harris, and welcome back to Good Morning Oakcrest. You know, as one of the producers of this show, it's always often my duty to find something that is a little unique and different. Well, today I bring you Benjamin Young Savage, who is a graphic artist and curator of the Who Said What art show. It's his own exhibit, and he brought a few pieces by today, and it's going to tell us a little about his process as well. So with that, I welcome Ben to the show. Ben, good morning.
Happy to be here.
Well, you know, I am so excited to have you here. You are a graphic artist and you're curating your own show, the Who Said What art show, and
Yes.
I love the name and the title. You have a lot of images that you've created through vector graphic
That's right.
art.
That's correct.
So, you know, I bring you on the set because, you know, one thing is that a lot of people don't know about this kind of art making. What is being an artist to you? What is an artist to you?
Well, I didn't actually start out thinking that I was an artist at all. I've been a graphic designer for years, and it was only last year that my wife Tamika actually convinced me that I should actually start doing some art. And so, you know, in a bit of a response to her, I started creating a set of pieces that that I'd be able to show. And so this is all very, very new to me.
Okay. All right. So go back with us to your young days of being a boy, you know, free, no bills, right? Life was pretty good.
Life was good.
Yeah.
Life was good. And life is still good.
Yeah.
When I was little, I drew a lot, but it was, you know, robots and aliens and spaceships and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't terribly serious about art, and partly with the robots and everything, I actually went to school as an engineer, not as an artist, and only switched to graphic design midway through.
Did someone inspire you when you were little?
Yeah, I really liked MC Escher as an artist, but he's an extremely technical artist. He's, you know, he's very into math and bending reality and those kinds of things. And I was very into Walt Disney as well in terms of like cartooning and animation and stuff like that, and how he was able to build this empire around something that people, you know, dismissed. He made it mainstream.
So was being a graphic artist something that you wanted to do from a young age?
No, I actually didn't even consider it as something that I'd even be able to make a living off of. I thought engineering was a way to go. I had my heart set on becoming an astronaut and building robots for the space program. And then I was in a circuits class. And instead of studying circuits, a bunch of us engineers were all sitting in the back of the class, and we were passing around a sheet of paper with Christmas lights on it. And everybody would draw a little Christmas light and pass it on. And so it came my turn, and I drew a little Christmas light, and I passed it on. And one of my friends, Erica, looked at the paper a minute and turned back to me, and she said, "Why are you an engineer?" And I said, "What do you mean, why am I an engineer?" She said, "You obviously have a gift for drawing. Maybe you should use it." After a lot of soul searching, a lot of prayer, I realized that if I graduated with a degree in engineering, I would not be happy unless I made a lot of money, because it's very, very difficult. Not something that I couldn't do.
But engineering, you thought that you could use your gift of drawing, though, right?
I did. I thought I could, you know, design robots and design cars, and nothing really artistic in that sense. It was more, you know, mechanical and you know, for a purpose to an end. And I realized that I would do art, I would do design, no matter what I got paid. And I knew that I'd be happy doing it.
All right. Well, I know you a little personally beyond the show, and you know, you were telling me about your background, and I think that that's so unique. And I think it probably adds to your creativity as well. Tell us about your parents.
My parents are missionaries in northern Quebec. They answered the call from Wycliffe to go up and be Bible translators for a group called the Naskapi Native Americans. And what they're doing up there is they're actually translating the Bible from Greek, Hebrew, and English into the native language of the Naskapi. And they're still up there. My father co-wrote their first dictionary to get them started. They have very little written work at all, and they just dedicated the book of Genesis.
Wow.
They have finished the New Testament, and now they're going into the Old Testament and doing that as well.
Okay, cool. Where do you think you get your creativity from?
Definitely from both my parents. My father was also a graphic artist, which I didn't know until I actually switched majors. But he draws very well, and my mother is very musical. She plays the guitar and she sings, and so being around that as I grew up, I was always encouraged to be drawing and to be creating things. But from my limited knowledge, I didn't know that you could make a career out of it.
Right, right. I don't think many people knew today what they could make money out of back then. So, I know that you went to Messiah College and you created this company for yourself, Zerflin.
Yes.
Which is a unique name for a company. I go on your website all the time. What does the name mean, Zerflin?
So when I was a kid, like I said, I drew a lot of aliens and spaceships and those kinds of things. And one day, I drew this alien that I have on my shirt. And I brought him up to my father, and my father asked me, okay, what's the name of this little guy? And I called him a Zerflin. I must have been like 6 or 7 years old.
Really?
And fast forward later, in college, I was in a graphic design class, and they were discussing marketing. And they said, if you have the opportunity to name a company while you're doing graphic design, try naming it something unique. Because in the modern day with search engines, when you search for a company name, if it's something that everybody has, it's not going to come up. But if it's something unique, it will always be at the top. And so I stuck with the name.
Awesome. So under that name, you do graphic design. There's nothing you can't make with a computer by your side, some coffee, right?
Yes.
And, Tamika by your side. And so you do a lot of things. You create logos, you do branding, you do ticket creations, website creations. I mean, you do some crazy, great stuff. I actually had the opportunity to go to one of your gallery openings, and you had some of your art here, which now this is called vector art.
Yes.
And it's your art that you create, but it's also on canvas too.
That's correct. So what I do is there's a style called screen printing that in the 30s to the 60s was very popular. And what they did was they would cut out shapes and create screens so that they could run ink through a screen and create different shapes on the canvas.
Okay.
My father had a large vinyl record collection, and so there's all this beautiful artwork on these vinyl records, and that's always something that's stuck with me. And so when I do my art, I'm very inspired by that style. I do it in a different process, though. I do it with vector illustrations, where basically I draw out each one of these shapes in the computer and then color the shape as I'm going. So what I do is, as I'm looking at a reference photo, I try and figure out, the shadow areas and the mid-tone areas and the highlight areas in each piece, trying to look at it as like a collection of shapes so that I can see how they all come together. So I'll usually start with the eyes, figure out, the shape of her eyebrow and the shape of her eyelash, and draw those as individual shapes. Okay. And then work my way around the face. And
so you have to know how to do this before you say you're going to do an art show.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you learn how to do vector graphics. Where did you?
Well, when I was in college, they didn't really teach us how to use the programs. What they did was they taught us concepts. So they taught us color theory, and they taught us composition and typography and those kinds of things. And
it's up to you to pull it together.
It was up to us to pull it together. And so I started going on YouTube and learning how to use Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign and things like that. And so I taught myself how to use the programs. And in class with the assignments is where I would get the practice. So doing a logo and drawing the shapes of the logo is what gave me the skills to be able to do this later.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, the Who Said What art show came about because your lovely wife of how many years?
We've been together 6 years.
6 years, said, you know what, Ben, you have a gift. Why not continue it and do something a little different? So how did the Who Said What part of it come out of this whole idea?
Well, I've been doing Zurflin for about 13 years now, but I've only just been doing it full time for about a year. And part of the reason why I left my day job and started doing Zurflin full time was that I knew that I would be happier if I was at home more and we would have the freedom to travel and do other things. We decided to take a trip all the way out to California, and we wanted to, kind of do it as a test to see if we could travel and work at the same time. And so we were thinking about different ways to, different things that we could do. What if we didn't have any work while we were traveling? We didn't want to, become complacent and kind of let the business slide off.
Right.
And so one of the ideas that Tamika came up with was that we would ask our fans and our clientele for quotes, and that we would, every day of the trip, create an art piece based on the quotes they submitted. And so it was a 20-day trip all the way out to California and back, and every single day the challenge was to make a piece of art based on the quote people sent.
That's awesome. So what was the first piece of art you started out with?
The first piece of art was a piece by, and forgive my pronunciation, but I think it's Goethe.
Okay.
And before we left for the trip, we had a halfway full list. We had about 10 quotes. And as we went on the trip, the different places we went, we would ask people to submit while we were on the road. And as we created them, we started to come up with the idea for a contest. And so we decided at the end of the trip, we would draw someone's name out of a hat, and they would get a piece of art.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. Well, you know what? The process for this is very interesting, and I can assume very tasking as well.
Yes.
But Ben has been so kind to bring us by a piece of footage where you can see how this process happens. And let me just tell you, it is phenomenal. We'll be right back. Take a look at this.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Yes, I can. Doubt, better leave. I'm running with this plan. Pull me, grab me, crabs in the bucket can't have me. I'll be the president one day. January 1st. Oh, you like that gossip? Like you the one drinking what gossip.com. Now I got a word for your tongue. How many Rolling Stones you want? Yeah, I got a brand new spirit speaking and it's done. Woke up on the side of the bed like I won. Talk like the wind in my chest to that sun. G5 in the US to Taiwan. Now who can say that? I wanna play back. Mama knew I was a needle in a haystack. Oh, body boy, plus way back. I got a feeling it's a rap. ASAP.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling.
The mountain top, walk on water. I got power, feel so royal. 1 second, I'ma strike oil. Diamond, platinum, no more for you. That adrenaline, never giving in. Giving up's not an option, gotta get it in. Witness, I got the heart of 20 men. No fear, go to sleep in the lion's den. That glow, that spark, that crown. You're looking at the king of the jungle now. Stronger than ever, can't hold me down. 100 miles gunning from the pitcher's mouth. Straight
good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling.
Gotta love the life that we live in.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Good Morning Oakcrest. The piece you just finished watching in progress is of the handiwork of Ben Young Savage. He has created that, and that is the actual process of vector graphic wonderfulness. So, Ben, how long did it take for you to do a piece like that? Because all of these pieces went through that process.
Yes, they all did. That one that you just watched, those few minutes was probably condensed down from about 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
And each of
continuous work.
Of continuous work. Each of these actually took less because I had so little time. I had to do one every day.
Right.
And each of these probably took about 3 hours to do.
Wow. So let's look at this one. This is Dolly Parton.
Yes.
People should know who this is, right? And her quote here is, "If you see someone without a smile, give them yours."
Yes.
Give us the inspiration behind Dolly Parton.
Okay, so I have to step back a little bit. A friend of mine, Allende, runs a group called Baby Dinosaurs down in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that he used to do was he used to put a lot of events together, and he ran this show called the Quotables Show. And what he did was he had artists come in and they would create art inspired by quotes. And he would have poets read and those kinds of things. And what he had me do was he had me sit there and I would draw live and it would project on the background while poets read. And so people would hand me slips of paper with quotes on them. And in about an hour, I would sit there, find some reference photos of the person who said the quote, and draw them out.
In the vector way, though.
In the vector way.
Wow.
Yeah, I would do that. So it would all be in about an hour. And so fast forward to these, when people submitted quotes, I would do the same process. I would research reference photos, and I tried to find people as young as I could possibly find reference photos to, because I wanted to draw people that were around my age, regardless of where they were in history. And I have, I've done pieces from all the way back to the 1700s.
Wow.
But I found this photo of Dolly Parton when she was about 18 years old.
That's cool.
And it's very different from the Dolly Parton that you see today, but this looks like someone that, I could meet up at a coffee shop. And I really like that kind of idea where this was long before they became the superstars that they are today.
It's what I call relatable art.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you can, someone looking at this can say, oh, I can relate to who she is.
Yep.
I could see myself almost as, no, not me, but somebody could say they could see themselves like, a Dolly Parton in that time frame. Now, this was your first piece here.
Yes.
This is the Goth piece. And I agree with you. It is hard to say that last name. Johann Wolfgang.
Johann, I think.
Oh, Johann. That's right. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And the quote is, "Rest not. Life is sweeping by. Go and dare before you die. Something mighty and sublime. Leave behind to conquer time." How poetic.
It really
That's
is,
fantastic.
and that's what I really like, and that's why I picked the typeface that I did for that
Yeah.
one. It's a lot more modern. It's edgy. It's
Right.
It's almost rock and
Right.
and
But you know, someone who's in their 20s may not have a Von Goethe, you
Right.
know, sitting in their living room.
That's right.
So that just brings it all to life. Now you have some other pieces that
Sure.
you want to show us.
So this is a piece of Jack Kerouac. He's an author who did the famous book On the Road, and this is very fitting because I believe we did this piece while we were cruising across North Dakota, and
Oh, cool.
there was nothing but flatness and the road. And this piece reads, "There was nowhere to go but everywhere, so just keep rolling under the stars." and that fit to how we were traveling at that
Wow.
time.
On the day that you actually produced this?
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Awesome. So you have quite a variety of different things. Keep
Yes.
going if you don't mind. From music to, I don't know.
This
people
is an
who were
interesting piece
icons.
here. So
Yeah.
this one is of a famous nun that not many people recognize. Usually when we show these, the curator, whoever's managing the show, will try to get people to guess who this actually is. And this is Mother Teresa when she was about 19
my.
years old.
Wow. Gorgeous. Do not look for big things, just do small things with great love. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so each of these
awesome.
pieces was submitted as a quote by a fan. And what we did was not only would we research and try to find good reference photos of them, but we would also research to make sure they actually said it.
Oh,
because
okay.
I wanted to make sure that if I was producing a piece, that I did not put words that were not actually
Yeah.
associated. Because a lot of the quotes that we got submitted were not the people who they said them didn't say them at all.
Okay.
And they were misattributed to someone
Okay.
else.
And
we
then
did
it
the
takes
research.
money and time and effort to put it all in a nice package and
Yep.
get it done, and you don't want to have to do that again.
Exactly.
So yeah, who is this?
This is C.S. Lewis. His quote.
yes.
Yes, he did the
Narnia.
Narnia series. Yes, he also did a really wonderful book called Mere Christianity. He did a bunch of sci-fi books that not too many people know about. And his quote is, "Aim at heaven, and you get earth. Aim at heaven, and you get earth thrown in. Aim at earth, and you get neither."
He's a man who knows about it very well. Yeah.
He does.
Very good. So you can see these pieces in like coffee shops.
Yes,
I
they're
mean-
at galleries. They're currently showing out in Chicago right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set that's circulating here in Baltimore. Right now, I just started doing a email newsletter because a couple of people asked me to do it because we want to know where the next show is
Right.
so we can come.
Right.
And so I built a website, art.zerflin.com,
Okay.
that people can go and subscribe to the newsletter and find out when the next show
And
is.
Zerflin sounds just like it does.
Yes.
Zerflin.
That's right.
I can spell. Isn't that nice? Well, keep going.
Okay.
Show us more. Like the girl on TV says, we want more. We want more.
This is the most popular piece of the series. I think we've sold 5 or 6 of these, and I do a limited set. I only do 10 of each one.
Now, who is this?
This is Pablo Neruda, and he is a very, very famous South American poet. And this is a snippet from one of his poems, "I Love You Because I Know No Other Way." And this was submitted by friends of ours who were getting married. We eventually gave this piece to them as a housewarming
That's
gift.
awesome. And you signature every piece
Yes.
with the Zerflin logo.
That's right.
Of course. Why do people like that one so much, you think?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think it's the style that it's in. Most of the pictures you see of Pablo Neruda, he looks a little sort of like Alfred Hitchcock. He's kind of round and rotund, has his very long nose. But when he was young, he was quite dapper.
Yeah.
And I think that the simplicity of the words resonates with people. I love you because I know no other way.
Right. Says
What
a lot.
what other can you say to someone that you're truly in love with?
Last piece, last but not least.
Last piece, this is Helen Keller.
Ah.
The world is full of suffering. It is also full of the overcoming of it.
That's awesome.
And
And this is her at what age?
This was her very young. She was about 14 or 15 years old.
Wow.
So this was very, very, very early on. And I would say that if anybody knew suffering, she was one. She was deaf and blind. And it took her many years to actually begin to even start to communicate.
And that was before they even knew how to communicate.
That's right.
You know, with folks. So, you know, in this whole quest of the Who Said What art show and in finding these great icons and great quotes and putting it all together and doing this great vector graphic artistness, because I can't say it any other way. What have you learned from this entire journey of the Who Said What art show?
A lot. I've learned a lot. Most of the quotes that you see, I love quotes. I collect them. But most of the quotes that were in the show are ones I didn't know. It was very inspiring to see people who were friends and fans of ours to submit these very deep and powerful things. It was really nice to be able to sit and reflect on that as I was doing the work. It's very different from, you know, making a logo for someone. This is more reflective in it, and you're able to take in the meaning of the quote. And this was so powerful in our lives that we're planning on doing it again.
Yeah.
We're going to do it again this summer. We're going to do a different series. We're going to do something else in terms of the art, but we're going to make another trip because it really taught us a lot and it really helped us a lot.
Yeah. And I'm sure the experience is overwhelming.
It is.
Kind of like Michelangelo, really, like in his day, and all those great artists of that time. I'm sure they probably would have never thought that you could do art with a computer. And so, you know, what do you think art will be like in the future?
Art in the
Will
future?
it be 3D or, you know?
I think that
Will it
I
pop
think
out
it's
of the
even
frame?
I think it's even going to get even more interesting. I think that people are going to take the new ways of doing things like 3D and augmented reality and like things with like the Xbox Connect and those kind of things. I think they're going to be making art, but they're going to be doing it in ways that are unexpected. I did these replicating a style that is very, very old, this screen printing style.
Retro.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so I think a
vintage.
lot of people, when they think of art of the future, they think, you know, spacey and
Right.
those kinds of things. I think it's actually going to be a combination. I think people are going to combine the old with the new, and that's how we're going to get something
And
really
find
unique.
a new experience, yeah.